Hello, I'm Bob Harris, getting ready to stamp our panel over here with stamped concrete. I'm applying an antique release, powdered antique release, to our stamps to precondition the mats from sticking. We don't want the stamps to stick to the fresh concrete. The name antique release, and of course it's powder, as you see here, powdered form of antique release. It gets its name because what happens is when you emboss that stamp into the fresh plastic concrete, some of the release powder becomes embedded into the cement paste. Several days later, when you come and you wash it off, probably 70% of the release washes away. However, the remaining 30% gives it kind of a marbled or an antiqued look, hence the name antique release. And the term release means that it doesn't allow the stamps to stick or adhere to the fresh plastic concrete. If I was to take a stamping mat and just emboss it into fresh concrete, when I pick the stamping mat up, the concrete would adhere to the bottom of the mat. So this acts as a bond breaker or a release agent. So once we've conditioned our mats like you see here, now what we're going to do is we're going to apply a layer of powdered antique release over the surface of our fresh concrete and get ready for our stamp application. The best way that I've found to apply your powdered antique release is with a splash brush, or sometimes referred to as a Tampico or a water brush. You can see it applies it in a nice uniform layer. You don't want to go too thick because depending on the texture that you're using, it could actually eliminate some of the texture if you're using a light texture. We've got our layer of antique powder release, and now we're going to show you a pretty interesting approach to the stamped concrete market. You're going to see a lot of accessory tools that enables the artisan to really perform some unique applications. This happens to be what we call a top quarter tool, and this is going to start our pattern. So in essence, what we do is we come right in here. It fits on a 90-degree section here. We'll come right in after with what we call our top tool. And some unique characteristics about this pattern is the fact that we can actually shift patterns right during the pour, right out in the middle of the slab. And also, there's no need for hand tooling over here, as you see. And some stamps are color-coded, meaning like yellow, blue, red. Some are lettered ABC. These happen to be numbered 1, 2, and 3. So our first tool, we're going to use a 1 right in here. Then we're going to go with our 2, and I always want to make sure I have a layer of powdered release out here. Don't forget that. So I'm going to come through as I'm going and apply my release agent. Now when you tamp with stamps, you always want to be standing on the mat. What I mean is I don't want to tamp like this, because the stamp could actually vibrate. So I want my weight to position it in here. We'll get a couple tampers going. Come on through here and make sure we hit every square inch of this mat. Here's a little tip a lot of stampers aren't even aware of. How do you know if you've completely depressed the tool down into the pattern? One way of knowing is when I pick up this stamp, the release powder should lighten up. It doesn't matter. Regardless of the color, we can be using a black release, tan, white. Doesn't matter what color we use, the release powder should always lighten up. So what I mean, I'm going to check right over here. Notice how the release color is much lighter, okay? Over here it's dark, here it's lighter. That's an indicator that we have full texture. If we have an area that remains dark, we need to put the tool back, tamp more texture. What happens is it compresses the release agent, almost like it's flour. We want to show you an interesting feature on these patterns. Now we have the ability to change patterns. Let's say that this was a driveway, for example, and we know that you've got to put some type of a controlled joint, meaning a saw cut. So now we have the ability, right in the middle of our pour, to put a straight line here with a bottom tool, okay? And we can even change patterns. So this is a really unique set of tools that enables you to do that. Let's demonstrate how. So here's what I'm talking about. This is the bottom tool. So it fits right into here, And what it does is it provides a straight edge here, all right? So we can change patterns. So as I said, now what we're doing is we're completely switching to a different pattern. Go right up off the edge of that to the expansion joint. Good. So the following day or tomorrow, you could actually saw cut your contraction or your control joint right through here. Now you notice on these tools, no matter how you lift, watch what happens to these edges here. Look at that. The edges come up automatically. So that's a big consideration. I've seen tools that when you lift, drag this over here. So this is a real nice consideration. All right, let's keep going here.